Good morning, everybody. Myself, Raghubir Singh, lecturer in civil engineering from Pandit GR Government Polytechnic College, Hoshiarpur. Today, in this session of presentation from the subject Railway Bridges and Tunnels, we are going to have a talk on a topic, very interesting topic, on ventilation of tunnels. Now, let me start with the different contents of my today's lecture. Regarding contents of today's lecture, I would like to start with the basic definition of ventilation. This term is a term which we often use in architecture and civil engineering field. What is the ventilation? Then I will move to the ventilation of tunnels, that how can we describe the ventilation of tunnels. Then we will see what exactly is the necessity of this ventilation, what are the benefits, what is the need, or what is the necessity of ventilation in tunnels or of tunnels. Now, this necessity is further classified into two types: the necessity of ventilation during the construction of tunnels, during construction, and after construction of tunnels. And in the last, we will have a watch on the methods we adopt. What are the different methods of ventilation? In the methods, we have basically two different type of methods. The first one is the natural method. You will see in detail this method. What is the natural method of ventilation in tunnels? And secondly, the mechanical method or the artificial method. The mechanical method of ventilation in tunnels. So, this is you can say the contents of today's lecture: the ventilation of tunnels, what is the necessity during construction, after construction, and what are the different methods of ventilation. And in this, we will see one by one what is the natural method and what is the mechanical method. Now, just starting up with the basic definition of ventilation. Now, before describing this term ventilation, you just move your mind or just go through the kitchens of your home, the toilets or the bathrooms, or if you have visited some industries, then some workshops of those industries, workshops of industries, or if you are sitting in the Polytechnic Colleges, you can have a look on your multipurpose halls, or some big halls, the auditoriums of your colleges. In all these four areas, you will watch this special provision of ventilation, which is provided everywhere, not only in these regions, but also in rooms, classrooms, or in residential areas, in our bedrooms, the dining rooms or drawing rooms, and many more places. You watch ceiling fans, exhaust fans, in industries, the centrifugal fans. Now, why these are provided? What is the purpose behind these accessories? Or if you watch the kitchen part, you will see in kitchens you often see the exhaust fans, the chimneys. In toilets, once again, we see the exhaust fans. In workshops, once again, the exhaust fans, big exhaust fans. In multipurpose halls, the same one, exhaust fans. Why these are provided? Just to maintain the ventilation in all these areas. Ventilation means to just circulate fresh air inside that area. It may be a room, maybe a toilet or kitchen, to circulate the fresh air inside and to exhale or exhaust the smoke or if any dust, some bad odors, bad smell or odor, to exhaust all these, or one more word I would like to use here, the pollutants, some pollutants which are there in the rooms, the airborne bacteria, etc., to exhaust all these out of the rooms. So, basically ventilation is nothing but it is the circulation of fresh air inside, which we often see by fans, and to exhaust the smoke, dust, bad odor, smell or the pollutants out of the rooms, and this purpose is solved by the exhaust fans or the centrifugal fans. So, you have got the idea regarding this term ventilation, what exact the ventilation is. Now, I will move to the ventilation of tunnels now. You have attended many lectures of tunnels. Now, tunnels are the passages, you all know, which are provided for the transportation, for the oils, sewage, for the different modes of transportation. But in tunnels, ventilation play a very important role. Without ventilation, it is nearly impossible to survive in tunnels. And the ventilation of tunnels, it can be defined as, it is an art, of providing, freshness of air, the same thing which I have discussed just now. It is an art of providing freshness of air inside the tunnels, so that the atmosphere inside the tunnels is comfortable. As I told you earlier also, during construction of tunnel and after construction of tunnel. So, it is an art of providing the freshness of air during construction of tunnel and after construction of tunnel. So, this is the basic definition of ventilation of tunnel. Now, the question arises, what is the need or what is the necessity of it? What is the necessity of ventilation? What purpose does it solve? The necessity of ventilation. Now, as I have touched 2 points during construction and after construction, so the necessity I'll discuss in 2 phases. The first phase during construction, the necessity of tunnel, the necessity of ventilation, during construction of tunnel and after construction. We will see one by one. Now, during construction of tunnels, if you go through the methods of construction in soft tunneling and the tunneling in soft rocks and hard rocks, especially in the hard rock tunneling, we are using drilling machines. For the blasting purpose, we are using detonators. The explosive charges, if there is a need of blasting, so we are using the detonators and the explosive charges during blasting. And also, while loading and unloading purpose, we are using a lot of machines, loading machines like excavators, muckers, mine pullers. We have a lot of machines. We use excavators, muckers, miners, load miners, and a lot of machines. These are 3 of them. Sorry. So, basically, during the use of these drilling machines, the detonators, the loading machines, etc., what you watch? In all these cases, we often watch the release of poisonous gases. The release of poisonous gases. Now, these gases are released. The release of poisonous gases, like you can say carbon monoxide gas, haze from the exhaust gases. We often see the smoke, dust, some more gases like nitrogen oxide, and some hot gases. In the case of fire, you often see or watch the hot gases in the case of fire. So, all these gases, smoke, are released inside the tunnel during construction of the tunnels. So, what do you think? If these gases are released during construction, the persons who are working inside the tunnels, are they comfortable? Your answer must be no. Those persons are struggling inside the tunnels. So, there should be a provision. There should be a provision of an arrangement. There should be a provision of an arrangement for removing these gases, for the removal of all these smoke, dust, and different type of gases. Whatever I have discussed now, the gases, dust, haze, this is very important. And to provide a fresh air inside, so that the persons working inside, the workers, the labor, of course the engineers also, they are supervising inside the tunnels. So, basically for the safety of the laborers working, the safety of the working laborers, we need the ventilation during the construction of tunnels. So you must be agreed with this point that during the construction of work, there is a lot of smoke, dust and haze, so that has to be removed and some fresh air has to be supplied inside. So for that purpose, what we need? We need the ventilation. The same word, we need ventilation. Now this is when the tunnel is under construction. The second aspect is when the tunnel is already constructed, after the construction of tunnel. After construction of tunnel. Now, is there any need after construction? Yes, there is a need of ventilation after the construction also. How? We will see. Now, when the tunnel is constructed, now it is under use, and when it is under use, we are using it for the moving traffic. We are using it for the moving traffic, for the moving vehicles, buses, cars, two-wheelers. Especially for the commercial purpose, we are using the diesel engine vehicles like the trucks, buses. These are most common. And basically for the commercial purpose, the tunnel is always under consideration. So all these diesel engined vehicles or the all moving vehicles, once again they are producing lot of smoke, lot of gases. They are producing carbon monoxide, NO2, smoke, very poisonous gases, foul gases. Is there any effect of all these gases or smoke on the persons? Yes. Now these gases are causing suffocation. These are causing suffocation, means not feeling comfortable. These are causing suffocation, or in simple or plain words, I should say, it's not convenient for the person. It is providing, it's giving inconvenience to the passengers. When a vehicle is passing through the tunnel and the passengers are sitting in a bus, so due to these gases or smoke or the dust, there is an inconvenience to the passengers. You must have observed yourself also sometimes. One thing more, all these gases reduce the visibility also. It reduces the visibility in the tunnel. It reduces the visibility in the tunnel. Particularly, I should say, due to the haze, haze is also just like a smoke or a dust, but it is coming from the haze from the vehicle exhaust gases. It's also coming out from the vehicles. So this haze is also reducing the visibility. It is responsible for reducing the visibility. And whenever there is a suffocation inside the tunnel, the passengers are not convenient and the visibility is reducing. So there is a problem. The purpose behind constructing this tunnel, it's failed. So here plays the role of ventilation. So ventilation basically is needed after construction also. It is that much vital after construction also, so that the moving traffic which are causing all these nuisance and producing all these problems. So, these has to be removed. Now, especially here I would like to mention one thing, that for the tunnels, in these tunnels, high percentage of diesel vehicles, these are passing through, maybe 10% or more. So, these are mainly responsible for all these nuisance. So, ventilation requirements, it is must after construction also. Ventilation requirement is must. Why? To dilute these gases, for the dilution of these particles, like we have NO2 particles or carbon monoxide particles or smoke. So, basically we are going to dilute it, or we are going to pass fresh air. Now, one interesting thing, after the construction of tunnels, as I told you, the diesel vehicles are very much responsible for the most of the nuisance. So, in the gases which are being released in these, the gases releasing from these diesel vehicles, the special gas, this carbon monoxide gas, now this gas has proven to be an umbrella pollutant. Now, this is a special term. This carbon monoxide is an umbrella pollutant. What does it mean? It is an umbrella pollutant in most of the road tunnels. It means that when the carbon monoxide level is maintained, in the road tunnel, all other vehicle pollutants will be within the appropriate limits. So, carbon monoxide is an umbrella pollutant. It is an umbrella pollutant. If it is in control, if it is maintained, then we can say all other vehicle pollutants will be within the appropriate levels. So, this is a new thing for you, that this particular gas is playing a very important role. So, this is all what I call the need of ventilation during construction and after construction of tunnels. Now, I would like to move to the ventilation systems of the tunnel. How do we do the ventilation practically in the field? So, the ventilation systems in tunnels. Now, in ventilation systems, in the case of straight tunnels, if the tunnels are straight, in the case of straight tunnels of length about 1000 feet, if their length is about 1000 feet, natural airflow is sufficient. If the tunnel is straight, then natural airflow, it is sufficient. We don't need some artificial type of systems. The natural airflow is sufficient, particularly important, particularly if the traffic is in one direction, if there is a one-way traffic, if the traffic is in one direction. I repeat, in the case of straight tunnels or having the length of about 1000 feet, the natural ventilation, the first type, the natural airflow, it is sufficient, it is okay. We don't need any artificial systems. And this is also when the traffic, it is in the one direction, means there is a one-way traffic and it's not both-way traffic, it is one-way traffic. Now, on the other way, if the tunnel is exposed to heavy traffic, if the tunnel is exposed to heavy traffic, congestion, we will observe the congestion. If the tunnel is exposed to heavy traffic congestion, here we need the installation of, exhaust fans. Now, here comes the artificial type of ventilation, the exhaust fans in a shaft. Now, this term is very important. I am going to discuss it in slight detail also. Shaft. The installation of exhaust fans in a shaft, it is advisable. If the traffic is heavy, it is advisable. If length is more than 500 feet, if length is more than 500 feet, shaft is advisable. I will discuss this term shaft just now, but before this, just going through these 2 points regarding the straight tunnels with the natural airflow and with the tunnel of exposed heavy traffic congestion, the provision of exhaust fans, we can say that basically there are 2 methods of ventilation. There are 2 methods of ventilation. The first one is the natural ventilation. And the second one, which is indicated here, it is the mechanical ventilation. I should say it is the mechanical ventilation. There are 1 or 2 names of this mechanical ventilation. We also call this ventilation as forced ventilation or artificial ventilation So, basically there are 2 methods. One is the natural method, the natural ventilation, and the second is mechanical ventilation, which is also termed as forced one or the artificial one. And I will discuss these 2 methods one by one. Now, coming to the first method, which I called the natural ventilation. We have already discussed this method in brief in this particular lecture in the earlier stages. Now, this ventilation particularly rely on the atmosphere. The natural ventilation is the method which rely on the atmosphere conditions, on the atmospheric conditions. As we are using word nature, the natural word comes from nature. So, it rely on atmospheric conditions to maintain